good morning, good day to you as usual, wherever and whenever you listen to the Series of Knowledge from Keshe on the Science Institute. We welcome you back. And those of you who are believers in the path of Christ, Happy New Year to you. And I hope it'll be a wonderful year. It will be a turbulent year this year. Our forecast is change in many dimensions. In a way, human race will go through a promised change this year. We'll see a lot of old things will break down, what we got used to. And a new version of the same thing will come up for a time, and we'll see fall of regimes. We see fall of regimes of economy and commerce. We'll see the end of man valuing what Earth possesses, and man will start valuing what the universe possesses. This will come, as I always said, this technology will not be accepted just because of its beauty, but because of the fear of annihilation of man, be it in the dimension of life, be it in the dimension of economy, be it in the dimension of what we build our lives around it. And we all looked in a different direction and dimension, and we always thought that this will happen, that happen. And as I always said, I sat in the background, watched a lot of things, moved the Keshe Foundation to Chinese corporations, and washed our hand with the West, knowing that the trigger point of the change will come from China. We most probably in the next few weeks will see collapse of economies. Many people, most probably some of you will lose all your livelihoods, and many of you will build a new future. It's set to change, but the change is not what we set to see. In early times, in 2000, I was sitting in a house in the center of Kinshasa, and I sat with the Minister of Transport of the nation at his house with his wife and discussed what is the future. He explained to me something very interesting. And at that point I said, everything has changed and the West is blind to what is to come. And 2026, more or less 25 years when my eyes open to what is happening, the West, most of us will open our eyes to see what is about to come. What we valued will bring us to crisis, and what crisis comes will bring us joy of the freedom and many, many other things. I traveled with the minister in his car. He said, we go to the ministry, I have something to do. Because the president of the nation at that time said, Keshe is too important to be in the public hotels, so he appointed a minister to look after me while I was in the country, and I always stayed in his house whenever I traveled to Kinshasa. He said to me, Mehran, something strange has happened. I said, what? He said, the reason was for it that we were driving down and there was a Chinese man standing and there were a lot of blacks working. I said, what's going on with this Chinese man? He said, oh, he's supervising. I said, what do you mean he's supervising? He said, American, the British and the Canadian dug a big hole in this country and they dug all the copper out of the mine. And when they couldn't get it, wasn't worthwhile, they flooded it. It's a big lake. I said, yes. He said, the Chinese have come, they have promised us, and they have started, this is part of what you saw, emptying the lake. Many people have lost their livelihood because it's been there for years and everything else, but they said they're going to take copper out of this mine, which is absolutely drained by the Europeans. They are building 1,000 schools, 100 hospitals, 1,500 kilometers of road directly from the mine to the port. And they have agreed that for every Chinese man, there will be 4 Africans who will be taught what to do, how to build, and how to operate. We are here as supervisors. They pay us the current prices of the copper, and we take 50% of it as cash for the building of the nation, and 50% they do building roads, houses, and everything else which was promised. Then they started it. And I said, they're going to control everything in rare earth materials, at that time copper. I watched this across Africa. As I traveled around Africa, Chinese repeated again and again. But a lot of Africans, Chinese who came to Africa, their workers and everything else, they saw prosperity and they stayed behind. They brought their children and their family. And mainly if you're Africa, you know what I'm talking about, started chicken farms, which was a big problem for the Africans, because most of the chicken farms is controlled by the Africans, by the Chinese, sorry. And now we see this year. As of today, not a single industry in the world which will not be touched, not a single one of us, which will not be touched by the material which China controls. As of today, there is no more silver in the market to sell. They want it for industrial organization, and they will not export a single silver gram of it. Very clever. Many people thought they want to control. No. They control 70-80% of the metals, precious metals, zinc, copper, and everything else. Again, people thought they want to control. But what the West has not come to be aware of, we speak about companies like Tesla, Samsung, and the rest, they cannot operate without silver, is very simple. They don't say you go bankrupt. They don't say that you're finished. They say, like to Samsung, as we all of us know, you want to run your business, open a factory in China. We give you all the materials. There is no restriction. They're transferring officially all the industrial revolution into China. Tesla has no problem if builds everything in China and export from China. There is no shortage. Samsung can do all these telephones and communication systems as long as they produce in China. There is no limitation. For outside there is. But this brings another, what we call revolution, where people will react internationally as they lose their jobs. This will create a lot of jobs in China in 2026. But all this goes back to the principle of the Keshe Foundation technology, science, development, and the rest of it. The Americans, the British, the Iranians, the Chinese, all played with the matter state. And now that the harsh time will come, especially for the West, there is no better opportunity than the man to show the power of the energy of that matter. The evolution in the science in 2026 will come when the man accepts the trinity of the matter and energy. And nobody has served us better than the Chinese government, where they have spent billions controlling all the rare earth materials. They got stuck, like the rest of humanity, with the matter state, not understanding a monster amongst you knowledge seekers known as the energy of the matter will rise. This is why we brought the Keshe coin. This is why we set up, as you heard, the structure of the Universal Council. Starting from today, you will see the nations of the West will get around the Keshe technology because they need the material. We showed it nowhere else publicly except, especially in China, May of last year. Conversion of energy to mass. Conformation and rejection of the wave theory, and bringing the knowledge of the man to existence, where the fields of the universe create the matter, and where man got stuck with that matter and he forgot about the wave. And in conversion and creation, we use that wave to create more matter without relying on the other side. In a way, the theory of what we call the funny thing, which when one moves, the other side moves. Now the matter state is so heavily will burden on the Chinese nation that the West will move forward by leaps of hundreds of years in the next decade or so. As gradually they understand China is lumbered with one of the heaviest that's ever could imagine by man, where in the coming time you produce materials as you need, because we have shown it, laboratory test 2 years ago shown it, and then it comes the medicine, the food and agriculture and everything else which made man in prison, locked to the matter state, where we will see the changes, where the man of science will gather in understanding, worshipping every single one of your knowledge seekers that you said something we didn't understand. This doesn't come out of what we call randomness. This comes out of organization, understanding. And in that point where the dollar is breaking down, yuan breaking down, the world will look for a stable currency that everybody can be without losing. And this is why the Keshe coin stuck his head out last week, and we brought it in as a game. Many of you bought those systems on an ends to be controlled, create an independent operation of financial organization in the background that does not matter where you live, we're all the same. Fulfillment of the prophecies of the past. You will see it as is today. The Chinese will stop the silver. They stopped exporting of magnets a few weeks ago and controlling of the rare earth materials as is needed. I was talking to one of my beloved cousins yesterday. Extremely wealthy, lives in the United States, and I said to him, do you know what's the problem? He can't even defend the nation. Every intercontinental missile, every missile which is produced by the Americans needs a minimum 15 kilos of silver. And you use it all in Ukraine, you use it all in Middle East protecting the regime of Israel, and you show where you're going to get it next. 1,000 missiles is 15 tons of silver. It's not in the market. Will force the nations to look at their defense and spending money on defense which they can't afford anymore. It'll bring peace. enforces the condition of peace because I can use 1,000 missiles, but I'm going to build it again. The same as we've seen the collapse of economy in Iran in the past few days. You see people on the street, they call it a revolution. It's not a revolution. In the West, you get on the street, you shout, this is expensive, that cannot be done, and it's nothing. In Iran, they're connecting it to a revolution. Might come from it, but what is behind it? You see, markets are closed. There are no people on the street. They're all shopkeepers, factory owners on the street. Why? You sell your product at 10 o'clock in the morning at $10. You think you made a profit. You have to pay $15 in the afternoon to buy the same thing. By the time you sell it at night, $20, next morning you have to buy it at $25, which means you're always losing even though you're working. And this is what we call the fake economy inflation. And this is why every point will come the same. Many of you will not be able to afford food. Governments cannot do anything with it because the Chinese stop sending magnets out. Your companies, your factories, your farmers can't get their engines going, and so we all run into one vicious circle. One governing governments controlling everything else, but you have to understand this governing government says it's peaceful, but people will not accept one nation policy. Why? One nation and the rest will follow. This opens a chance for every single nation to look for an alternative, opening of new technologies, feeding people through internet system, the way we have put systems out, and the rest of it. 2026 and thereon, next 15, 20, 30 years, we'll see the evolution of the changing, accepting energy, what we denied into our hands. I was talking to one of the richest men in North America past 48 hours. I explained very simple. I said, you hold the matter. I hold the energy of the matter. I put a magnet on the table, and from that magnet to you is just something holding, attaching to steel. From the fields of that magnet, I make gold. Man ignored the power of the fields. Man ignored the power of energy in transmission, in motion, and got stuck with the matter end. Then we understand how life changes. Then we understand what is about to happen. Then we understand all this trauma we've been through, all these games everybody played, is all to bring the whole humanity to one point. Change in opening the man's eye, enlightening man to the knowledge of the fields and not the matter. This was the promised message. Understanding, enlightenment to the power of the fields in motion and not the matter stuck on the ground on this planet. And if you think about it, this matter came from the fields of the sun, completing, in a way, confirming the wave theory in a different way, and in a way confirming something very interesting. Einstein said, when one moves, one atom, the other atom moves the same somewhere in the universe, and some people got Nobel Prizes in 2000 or something, 3 scientists for this reason. But ask yourself one question. If the wave theory is correct, if the quantum theory is correct, if what we consider as the speed of light to be correct and everything else, something very important mankind has ignored, and it's for you to understand. If one atom moves and another atom which is connected to it will move, ask yourself one question. The matter on this planet is from the fields of the sun. Where is the other atom which is in your brain connected to? To the center of the sun? To the center of the sun being the same field of interaction, connected to galaxy, connected to the soul of the Creator. Now you understand the whole breaking down of the one man accepted down to one point. Man has no choice but to be enlightened with the knowledge of creation and not to deny, not to ignore the truth about himself, his own creation, about its own dimension, that if you accepted wave theory, if you accepted the quantum theory, if you accepted Einstein theory, one thing moves the other side and the other one has to move, every cell in your body as it moves is connected to something inside the sun, because where it came from. So, in a way, the sun, our sun, is the center of the soul, connected to every single dimension of energy within our body. And once we are enlightened to this, once we understand the facts that something as a ray of the sun has become us, so we are all sun, and we all can shine. As the fields from us leads to creation of another sun. I asked my father years ago. I remember sitting in front of him. He was explaining to me why I see the bone. I was a naughty child. I was one of the most hyperactive child I could ever see. No one, no maids, no housekeeper, no one in the house could handle this boy. Too active. Gardens and the walls and the kitchens and the bedrooms and everything else was not big enough to hold this fast boy. He sat me in front of him and I said to him, do you know something? I found something in your cupboard. He said, what have you found? I said, I found an X-ray. You're hiding. Whose is it? He said, why did you go into the back of the safe where I hide everything? I said, nothing in this house is hidden from me. I put the film in front of him. I said, this is so-and-so because his name is on the film. He said, he's dying of cancer. I said, I know, he's dying of cancer. I see it because I can read it. I said, why have you hidden it? He said, because I cannot even tell no one that he's dying. He's my co-CEO in the company and I cannot do anything for him. I said to my dad, you see this cancer is like a sun. He has not realized it. It's the energy. We see it as a white. The same as we hold the X-ray in the sun, we see a white sheet, we don't see anything on it. When the man realizes that the cancer is another sun within it and tame it, he'll survive. He said, you'll find a solution. I said, look, it's the same as his bone. The same feature. So it cannot be very far. If man understands what I just explained, one day, man has found the secret to life in the universe and not within the body of the man. There is a sun within all of us. And when the sun is too bright, when the sun is too powerful, it cannot shine in what we call the strength parallel with itself. It looks dark. Even the black holes in a given field of strength are like the sun. They shine. It's us who have not understood the science of creation and we call it black. But if in reality, as I wrote in the paper, the first paper I ever published, they are the source of life. There is the light coming from it. In the bandwidth of the eye of the man is black, and the bandwidth of the eye of the universe is brighter than the sun we see every day. It just needs to interact and shine. And this is exactly how man has got stuck in the black hole of the knowledge of the matter on this planet. I made man in the image of myself to shine and not to be as dark as his heart. One day mankind will move, and that move to understand the process of the interaction of the fields is of now. We will change in governments. We will see massive changes in the knowledge as the governments have thousands of factories and no goods, and then they need to feed these goods to be able to keep the factories going, paying the economies, and moving on. And there is no alternative left but man to understand, out of desperation, the other side of the science which man has denied, ignored, and always laughed at too. Those of you who call you crazy, you believe in Keshe, he's a fraud and everything else, they will kiss your hand. They worship you as I understood before they did. As they see how the knowledge of the energy, magnetic field, emotion, will change their life in the West, brings humbleness and equality to Chinese, and at the same time, arrogance of making metals to kill each other will be buried in the history of mankind. It's time for the knowledge of the creation and the name of blah 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 Keshe Foundation and any other name of Gens and whatever to shine. For your knowledge seekers, understand that your job has started. For those of you who are member of Universal Council, your line is drawn. Those of you who want to become members of Universal Council, look within your soul and see if you understand the need, the love of the man for the whole universe and not for one nation, one blood, and one direction. Those of you who become the Universal Council members will have your line connected to the soul of the Creator if you understood the explanation of the beginning. You don't need the sun, as you shine the same as it does in the heart of the Creator. One day you'll understand, and one day mankind will move on. And the change out of the desperation of the losing jobs and factories closing down will bring the governments of Germany, Japan, South Korea, and every other country to worship the knowledge of the energy in motion, what you call magnetic fields. The part we don't. As I said to the guy, being a scientist this week, I said, I give you a magnet. It's no difference than an atom in your body. No difference than the electron and the proton. They all create magnetic fields and in interaction with each other confirm their existence as a matter state in the condition that creates you and what you believe in. We will see the changes in a massive order in 2026. Is the year of the promise. Beginning of the world peace, unification of the currencies and the banner of the Keshe coin, as every other one which man believed in according to the nation will collapse one by one. Then they all accept there is one and we all abide by it and we all accept it. It won't happen overnight, it takes time, it needs a lot of effort. And I have a few more years left in me to complete the world peace before I depart. But it's for you as knowledge seekers to understand. You're suffering, you're standing solid behind the Keshe Foundation to bring the knowledge of energy, magnetic field, emotion has started. Be proud who you are and stand solid as those who ridiculed you or those who brought you as you are crazy. They find out always the most intelligence, those who have the wisdom are called crazy because it's their lack of knowledge of themselves that did not understand, and it brings shame onto them. As I said, be humble and do not rub their nose in it, but be proud that you understood. And be proud that You bring the change yourself to yourself, then bring the new dimensions for man to exist. My message for 2026 to you knowledge seekers is the time to move has come. Not by the end of the year, from today. Every effort will be made by the Keshe Foundation that our knowledge become the support of the West in a very direct way for them to understand, because they have no other choice. The line is drawn by the Chinese, and in a way, they didn't fire a single bullet. They used the greed of the man to tame the man. But man soon has no choice but to be tamed by himself in accepting the trinity of the knowledge of the matter and energy. I wish a wonderful year, but you have to understand a lot of harsh time left to come, as even the government accept this technology tomorrow. They need to set out to build the systems and machinery to be able to deliver. And they have to look within themselves how, in the resources they have to build it. Or as I said in a meeting very recently, the past few days, we make the materials by our own machine, which makes the material to build the material. The beauty of it is, today they mine those mines in Kinshasa. And then they took it all the way to China to refine it. And then once they refined it, they found a way to mold it. And then it became an industry, where now you don't need to mine, you don't need to refine. As you saw in Beijing, you make the material, refine in your hand. No need to mining and no need to refining. And this is where the secret in the new knowledge sits. In a way, is the history of America and Africa. In 1990s, you lay down the cables right across the America, and those who laid the cables had to get their money back. They were too slow to become like Africa, which had the mobile phone in their hand and running around, better services than the Americans, because the Americans could not afford, because they could not get finances. They put the cables in, and they became third world nation. I was sitting in a car in 2013, 2014, with the most closest man to Pope in Africa. He's an ambassador. He is advisor to the president, and we just came from the office of the president. He pulled the window down. He said something. The African guy passed a bag of potatoes. He put his phone. The guy put the phone, and he went. I said, "What did you do?" He said, "I just paid for the potato." So we don't even know this in the West yet. Africa was already working on what the Chinese are working today. I said to him, "What's happening?" He said, "Mehran, I cannot tell you how backward the West is. We didn't spend on the cables. They're still trying to make money to pay for the cables. We are advancing in technology. And all we said, Africans are behind. What you still past few months and couple of years trying to do in your supermarkets, I watched 10 years ago, 12 years ago, on the streets of African nation. Now we see how they cover our eyes not to see that they're behind in so many things. And this is the way that many of you will come to understand. Be proud in what you know, and transfer the knowledge as a knowledge of energy, confirmation of many theories which man didn't understand, but at the end, when the fields become at the magnetic field, the state of environment, they manifest themselves as a matter. And if you understand this, you understand the secret of creation, manifestation. Otherwise, you'll be the field in the soup of the fields of the universe till somewhere you match the environment that you can be manifested. I'm made man in the image of myself. I travel the span of the universe as energy, and when I decide, I manifest myself in the dimension of the conformation of existence in the eye of the observer. I hope you have a wonderful year, and I hope you understand the message of this year. We are here to bring the change, and every structure for it is set to be. And the only thing we needed was the desperation of the governments to look for escape route, to bypass the shackles which they themselves, by their greed, gave to the Chinese, and in a way Chinese, by wisdom of the government, but ignoring the knowledge of the fields and energies, got trapped into. Many factories in China will go stand still in the coming months and years, as you'll produce the material which produces your system, and then use the same material to produce the machine which converted the energies back into matter for you to exist. This be it food, this be it medicine, this be it hardware and the toys and the computers you think. In 2026, 2027, you see emergence of the new way of communication, what we call cosmic ray communication. Some of the systems, some of you know, is stuck in your customs because your customs do not even understand what's in their hand, and they're still trying to assess, what does this machine do? Those of you who receive it, it will become a baffle to them, and they let it go because they don't understand it. But it's the new way to transfer energy, food, medicine, and with it, the change in the dimension of humanity. We see in the next few years where your mobile phones become the source of your food, your mobile phones become the source of your energy, and in so many ways, you don't need an app. We can transfer the energy of Apple through the systems which Keshe Foundation will put in the position of you through the cash coin, is that every nation, every person, as they like, they can access to anytime, food, medicine, anything else. As I said to the knowledge seeker in the past few days, I said, you don't need to. When you spoke to Germany, you made a time with Dr. Kern to be given certain time to be available, that you can use the headphones. Now it's over. Then we all do that. Then we all came in, and then we all sat in the machines and used our headphones in the sessions in past 2 years. Why do you think we stopped? Because our knowledge, our scientific knowledge, and our scientists understood that, as I said to the knowledge seeker this week, you go on the machine anytime you like. You don't need us. Before we had to control, now we control nothing. We just make everything available to the system through the cosmic ray, that you take what you need if your wish is there. If the demand of your body is to receive it, if your wish is to walk using this unit on your head, you walk. If you want to be fed, you'll be fed. There is no more restriction to make time, because you as knowledge seekers, you invested in us. You gave us all your support. You moved, how many of you, hundreds of you, traveled to Austria, sat, waited for hours to go into that system to see what happens. You supported us to confirm the technology step by step. And what you did, coming all the way from all over the world to be in that machine for 1 hour, You paid for it and we invested everything we could. Now makes it possible that you don't need that time. You choose the time to get. Using the new technology and maybe next few years, using the quantum, what we call system of the fields, what we call cosmic rays, will bring a new dimension that no man will ever feel hungry because we transmit energy and they feel the strength of the amino acid of the man, which will take what he needs. Living 1,000 years will not be abnormal. There will be a normality because everything continuously is fed. Mankind will be supported by humanity itself, by the knowledge of the fields, where it changes the other end, becomes the matter and is connected to the source, like the cell of your body to the sun. Changes starting from today is the confirmation and completion of the promise of all the holy books man ever imagined. And it's done by you. We were just teachers, brought the knowledge, and for you to complete that knowledge, and man, through his greed, has created the opportunity for the knowledge of the creation to be accepted. No choice. But, as I said, if you kill someone, you're a murderer, but if you kill themselves, it's a suicide. And man has brought himself to that point through the greed of matter state. I wish you a wonderful new year. And I know this year, starting from today, will bring many changes that your children and not even yourself will recognize in the time to come. You thought you went through the evolution of computers and everything changed in past 100 years. The changes coming up in the coming decades would baffle you that you witnessed the knowledge of the earth and matter converted knowledge of energy and creation of the Creator. The opening of the time for man to be part of that universal change. As I said, everybody looked where that guy 160 million kilometers came. The energy you needed for enlightenment has been passed on to every single one of you. And mankind will change. We'll see fakes of the war for those who believe in the matter state, and we'll see a rise of the new nations through understanding the field of the creation. And then man has to rewrite the books of knowledge as a two parallel. As I said before, when you open a book to read about zinc, on one side you read about this matter state's power, on the other side, on this energy side, you decide to make the alloys in the matter state or use this field to be fed without needing the matter to be alloyed. My love goes to all of you, unconditionally with the knowledge I've given you. And as a universal teacher, I have fulfilled my promise to my Creator. Have a wonderful 2026. But know that the change has come and you will see it, and that is primarily thanks to the Chinese government and the wisdom of bringing man to the point of the change by, in a way, out of greed, becoming greeded and created a new condition of life for the rest of us, which bring back us all to the same point. As I said, mankind soon will have no choice but to accept the twinity of life, matter and energy, and respect both according to the time, the place, and the position, and one man needs from one or the other. He cannot make love to a field, but he can make love to a woman or a man as a partner, physicality needed. Love making in the fields is very difficult. One day you'll understand. Happy New Year to you, and I wish you a beautiful, fantastic 2026, which I know what will bring to many of you. And be proud that you were there to accept the knowledge of the energy, and those who stuck to the matter will worship you what you brought them. But out of their own lack of understanding, maturity, and enlightenment, they stuck with what they believed in, what they've been taught to believe in.